Thank you, Joachim. Welcome, dear colleagues. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are sitting. Before introducing our first speakers, I would like to share a few ideas with you, very, very briefly. Thinking over the past decades and my existence in the Pontifical Academy, I noticed that there was an increasing number of conditions where scientific evidence had a strong impact on political decisions at a global scale. The first was the prediction that a nuclear war would cause the extinction of humanity, not because of irradiation, but because of the following nuclear winter. Paul Cruson, member of the Academy, was instrumental in this discovery. The second discovery was to elucidate the reasons for the ozone hole, again by Paul Cruson, and the analysis of the deleterious effects on life that this has. The third was the discovery of the reasons for global warming and the predictions on its devastating effects. Finally, and fourth, the quantification of the exponential extinction rate of species that jeopardizes the equilibrium of our biosphere. Now, I find it noteworthy that all of these problems are man-made and came into the world because of advances in science and technology. And probably it's therefore that scientists felt and still feel the moral obligation to speak up and to engage in politics. In all these domains, the Pontifical Academy of Sciences was and still is engaged, attempting to scrutinize the evidence as thoroughly as possible and to derive evidence-based suggestions for ethical and responsible action. In all these cases, scientists took the initiative, trying to alert the politicians and the public at large. And the declaration of the Sustainable Developmental Goals by the United Nations and their condensation in the encyclica Laudato Si are direct consequences of scientific insight. Now, the present COVID pandemic led to an inversion of the relation between science and politics. It is the first global event where politicians, with the exception of a few, unfortunately, actively reach out to obtain advice from science in order to take educated measures, and this worldwide and across all cultures. This is a new phenomenon, at least in my eyes, as far as its global dimension is concerned. And the likely reason is that the present crisis is not perceived as man-made, but as a plague of cryptic origin. And this induces strong feelings of uncertainty, insecurity, and helplessness. And it is impressive to see how all of a sudden science is considered as the source of security and hope, not only by politicians, but also by the public at large. Politicians are now really willing and ready to rely on scientific evidence to adjust their actions. Wouldn't it be wonderful if this rational strategy to cope with problems could be preserved once the pandemic is under control, and then were applied to solve the many other menaces that are likely to be much more devastating, but are much more difficult to perceive because they evolve so slowly. Take global warming as an example. Now, in this session, we have an amazing panel of scientists whose expertise is now needed more than ever. And this is why we all look forward very much to hearing their thoughts. And the next scientific contribution is from Francis Delmonico and Anne Woolley, both clinicians at Harvard Medical School. Anne is based at the Brigham and Women Hospital and an expert in infectious diseases and organ transplantation, and lately, of course, as all meds involved in the fight against COVID. And Francis is a transplantation surgeon who leads a worldwide campaign against organ trafficking. And he is member of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. So I don't know who of you will take the word, but it's up to you now to engage the screen.